Okay, so I am going to tell you about quantum algorithms for jet clustering. First of all, we want to talk about quantum computing, which is basically using quantum systems to perform computations. And really the challenge here is identifying the right problems. When do we get speed up over classical computers? And there's several main approaches and models I'm going to talk about later. So most notably, we're going to work with quantum annealing and the gate model of quantum computing. But specifically, the applications we're concerned with are in particle physics. So actually, if you look at the slide, there are quite a few applications of quantum information to high energy physics. And we're going to be concerned with this like C over here, point C, which is basically applications of data analysis tools. So specifically, we're interested in particle collisions and sort of what you get out of these collisions are jets, which are collimated energetic particles that are forming these collisions, and actually identifying them can be quite computationally intensive. So the question is, can quantum computers help? What would it look like? And then also along the way, can we improve our classical algorithms? So the problem we're interested in is thrust. So it's basically in an E plus E minus collision. We just want to find an optimal separating plane. And then everything on one side of the plane, we're going to call one jet. Everything on the other side of the plane, we're going to call another jet. So why is this problem interesting? First of all, it's a global optimization problem. So actually the default algorithm at the LHC is a local heuristic algorithm. So it is quite fast. So it's O of n log n time, where n is the total number of particles, versus computing thrust actually takes O of n cubed time. Right, so it is faster, but it gives you a local solution versus a global solution. So the two quantum computing paradigms we're going to be concerned with are quantum annealing, which is used in hardware like the D-Wave, and quantum search, which works in the quantum gate model, specifically the Grover search algorithm. And what this does is if you have a database with n items in it, it finds your desired item in square root of n time. Of course, classically, you need to look through all the items, and that takes at least n time. But actually, this is not realistic, because if you think about it, you actually need to load your data, which lives in classical memory. So that itself already takes O of n time. So really, if we want any sort of speed up, what we want to emphasize is that the search space really needs to scale in a way that offsets this data loading cost. And I'll talk about this more later as well. But the results that we get are, first of all, we do end up improving the classical thrust algorithm using a trick. And we also consider two quantum data loading models, a sequential one that requires fewer qubits, but more time, and a parallel one that requires more qubits, but is faster. So thrust. So first of all, there are two equivalent formulations. One is as a partitioning problem, where you have these n3 momenta corresponding to these particles, and you want to find this partitioning plane, right? And you just basically want to maximize the sum of all the momenta on one side of the plane. So there's a brute force way to think about it, which is, okay, I'm just going to consider all the 2 to the n possibilities and then just compute the sum for them. And this is going to be our motivation behind the quantum annealing algorithm. Now, there's an equivalent formulation as an axis finding problem. And so the idea here is that, well, you have a plane and you have the normal axis to the plane. Like the axis kind of determines the plane. And we can use that to partition the particles. Basically, I'm going to take the dot product between my axis and each given particle pi. And if it's positive, I put it on one side. If it's negative, I put it on the other side. This is going to motivate our classical O of n cubed algorithm and the Grover search algorithm. And actually, these two formulations are the same. And you can show that. So this is just what this slide is. Right, so first I will talk about this classical O of n cubed thrust algorithm, which is, so basically where the n cubed comes from is, first of all, like we can determine a plane using two particles. Basically, we take their cross product that gives us a vector. The vector determines the plane. And then once we have a plane, we have to iterate through all the particles to find the dot product and then put it on one side or the other side and then sum up everything on one side. And then we take the maximum out of these sums. So this requires n cubed time total because there are n squared possible planes. And then for each plane, we have to compute this sum that takes n time. And there's an improvement that we find that I don't want to spend too much time on, but basically, if you sort the particles first and then you traverse them in a special order, you can cut the time down. And the intuition for this is that, right, for each plane, we had this sort of sum where you went through all the particles, but actually, if you go through them in a special order, you might imagine that, oh, I don't have to recompute the sum every time. And that's exactly the idea here. But now we want to get to the quantum methods. So first of all, I'll start with quantum annealing. So I mentioned that hardware like the D-Wave are quantum annealers. And basically, you just have a bunch of spins on the lattice. Really, on the hardware side, the problem is controlling the connectivity between the spins, so the spins can interact with each other in some way. And basically, as someone who's using this device, what I want to do is I have an optimization problem, and I'm going to encode it in a special way, such that the ground state or the solution to my problem is going to be the solution to this, and you're going to see what I mean when I say you write it in a special way. Right, so specifically for the D-Wave device, we want to minimize this quadratic function. So here you have xi, xj, where the xi are each 0 or 1. And then quadratic is just because we have couplings between only 2 of these x's at each time. And actually, we find that we can write thrust exactly in this form. And this will use the definition of thrust, the first definition I gave earlier. So basically, the way you see this is that we're going to assign each xi to particle I. And xi is going to be 1 if it's in a particular partition, and 0 if it's not on that side of the partition. And then remember, all we wanted to do was just like sum up all the particles on one side of the partition and then maximize the norm of this vector. And it turns out that, you know, we can square this because we're just maximizing a norm, and then it exactly takes this quadratic form. And then I just have a minus sign in front because I want the minimum. Great. And now I will talk about the quantum search algorithm. So search is basically what you want to do whenever you solve an optimization problem, right? And Grover search does this in the quantum gate model. So basically in this model, what our algorithm is going to look like is, okay, I need to prepare some initial state. I apply some series of unitary gates, and then I measure at the end to determine a final state. And the final state is going to like encode my answer in some way. And specifically, Grover, you want to search a database of k items, and then it requires square root of k gates. So we measure time in like the number of gates required. So this is basically a square root speed up. And how it works, I mean, kind of in pictures, is we sort of prepare this initial state, which is going to be a superposition over all the items in the database. And then we perform a series of reflections. So our marked items are the items we want. So basically, we kind of in this vector space, we reflect about our initial state, and then we reflect about our marked items, and then we just keep on repeating the series of reflections. And why this works is because 2 reflections end up being a rotation. And so we rotate our state vector towards the vector corresponding to the solution. Specifically, we're interested in maximum finding, and it turns out that there is an algorithm for maximum finding using Grover search, where the marked states are basically the best maximum seen so far. And we're going to apply this algorithm to our thrust search space. So in this case, the search space is, remember, size n squared for the n squared partitioning planes. And because Grover gives me a square root speed up, this means that the outer loop is going to scale like O of n. So this is exactly what this slide is just saying, is our outer loop here is we need to repeat this O of n times. And then recall that what happens in Grover is I have this initial state. Then I want to reflect about the marked states. So this involves actually computing this value of thrust for each partition, and then reflecting about the state corresponding to that. And then I reflect about the initial state, and I repeat the whole thing in this loop n times. But crucially, in this process of actually computing the thrust for each partition, I also need to be able to load the data. And so like, whenever we use Grover, we kind of sort of assume you somehow already have the superposition over all items, but actually in realistic applications, certainly in the collider physics applications, your data might actually live on a classical hard drive and not in quantum superposition. So you need to actually load the data in the step where you compute the thrust. And so we're going to define two abstract operations that we call lookup and sum. And right, so basically what it's going to correspond to is lookup. First, we want to call this, recall that these two momenta determine an axis, which determines a plane. And so when we call lookup on these two vectors, we go and we just load the three momenta corresponding to these two vectors. And then we use it to calculate the reference axis. And now we apply our sum operation, which basically takes one pass through all the items in your database, all the n items. So in this case, we take the dot product and we add it to the sum on one side. And this will be one iteration. So basically, recall our total outer loop was of size n. So basically, it's going to be n times, and then the cost of the lookup operation plus the cost of the sum operation. So in the sequential model, which is the first model that I mentioned, lookup and sum require O of n time and O of log n qubits. So where this log n qubits comes from is just that, we have n items in the database. And then like, if I want to write down the numbers 1 through n, well, it just takes me log n bits. And then in terms of where this O of n lookup and sum time comes from, like we have to scan each of the items in the database for each of these operations. So we have to go through all n of them. And so the total algorithm requires O of n squared time and O of log n qubits. And for the parallel algorithm, I'm not going to go through it now, but you can ask me later if you want to hear more about it. And now just in terms of what algorithms in the LHC might be like. So those are not E plus E minus collisions, right? So we're going to be using a different coordinate system. And actually, it's the way we partition into jets is going to be slightly different too. Like we might just want to identify one jet, whereas in the thrust problem, we just said, oh, I'm just going to stick this plane here and it's automatically going to be two jets on each side, right? So I might have, right. But it turns out that if you want to do some sort of global maximization using a jet function, you can actually do something that looks very, very similar to the QUBO thing we did in the quantum annealing D-wave case. And then you can actually even try doing it with multi-regions. So the thrust problem had 2 regions, but maybe I would like more jets. And actually, this doesn't work quite as well on the D-wave hardware. And right, you can ask me later if you want to hear more about this as well. But yeah, so to conclude, basically, we sort of thought about some maybe more realistic considerations if we did want to try apply quantum computing to collider physics problems. So in particular, you have to think about data loading, which means that this naive square root speed up is maybe not actually as great as it seems to be on paper. So we improved this classical thrust algorithm, both classically and quantumly, and we considered some things you'd have to think about in general for optimization and clustering problems. And sort of the direction along this line is, can we identify other interesting problems where, the cost of the data read-in, like I mentioned, is O of n, but if the size of the search space is large enough, then we can offset this data loading cost and potentially have like real substantial speedups for search problems that rely on Grover search. And I will conclude here. Thank you.